This is the way I like to look at it. I want to give the kids a chance. We've looked at a couple schools, and we're, the older one, we're going to she wanted to do because she's 14. She wants to have friends and stuff. And, we've lived the last several years in the Valley of the Dirt People in Arizona where, she had a very small group of friends far away. Her best friend's my son or her stepbrother. But this is where, it's as much about her getting out. The education is good too, but we focus a lot on that. So as far as Charlie goes, I've done it almost as a European way. I've kind of let her do her own thing. We didn't put her in, in kindergarten till a little bit later last year. And, she wanted to read. So we started to teach her. That was all on her own. And, you can get education a lot of different ways. But now that we're thinking about it, we've done our homework because I did, you do worry because, this is in Massachusetts. My son's school down in San Diego, I gotta be honest, his last two schools were ridiculous. They were amazing. He went to a STEM school that was so amazing.
I'm sorry, what's STEM mean?
That's the science. So that's like, it focuses on science and, technical, engineering, mathematics.
Oh, gotcha.
So okay. It's like, it was when COVID hit, within a week, they had built an app, an online portal. He never missed a beat. My little brothers go to school in Orange County, and boy, was that a nightmare. And then my other little brother went to a private school in Orange County. They never had a day where they took off. They just kept going. They had a COVID dog, which was interesting. They had a German Shepherd, Belgian Malinois. They brought it in. He sniffed for COVID. So everybody walked in, it would sniff everybody, and apparently you could tell, where COVID was. They had no teachers were out sick ever. It was incredible. So it really depends. You've got to find what's right for you and your kids. But when it comes to public education, you wonder why people are frustrated. Look no further than our report card today that's come out, which basically says, duh.
The biennial assessment suggests that the gap between higher performing students and those with lower reading scores is widening. 40% of fourth graders and 33% of eighth graders are reading below the test basic level.
It's a call to action as parents and families to hold our districts and our school systems accountable.
Carrie Rodriguez of the National Parents Union wants caregivers to take a more active role in their kids' education.
Well, you should take an active role in your kids' education. Why? Do we have to say that?
Why is that so shocking to hear?
Oh, where's Tiger Mom? Where's that? You don't want to make your kid hate you, right? Oh, yeah, you got to practice violin for 9 hours. Like that, you can't have any sleepovers. But you want to be active in your kids' education. And I tell my kids this. Education's important. There's a lot of ways to get knowledge. And no doubt about that. But I know what my son's doing. I go and I check it out. Thank God they didn't have that when I was a kid, where they can go on every single day and see how your grades are. Because that would have been a nightmare.
Oh, that would have been the ruin of me.
Oh, totally. I would have been in so much trouble. I would have actually had it gone.
That was almost like an epiphany moment just then that I'd never appreciated how good I had it back then.
Yeah. I was like, I got to get home before my progress report gets there so my aunt could sign it for me.
Yep.
But I knew how to read. I knew the basic of mathematics. And yes, is there some crap being taught at schools? Absolutely. Do we need to revamp schools across the board? 100%. Does Tennessee have something here? We're going to find out. I'm digging into it, and I don't want to jump to, I'm not one of these guys, I'm all about school choice. Yeah, I'd like school choice. I think we should have it. But we also have to have understanding, how are we going to pay for it? Who's going to take advantage of it? 65% of people in private schools are going to take advantage of it. There's nothing wrong with that. You're paying taxes. You're sending your kid to private school. You should be able to take advantage of this. But you want it to go to people who are in schools that are underserved. Absolutely. You do. But I can almost guarantee you, if your parent wants you to get this and is pushing for this, they're thinking about how they can improve your education. They care about your education. The fact that you've got somebody going, well, let's hope that you caregivers can take more of a good approach towards taking care of their kids. That's insane. And why do you say caregiver? It should be mom and dad. It should be mom and dad, right? But we have to say caregiver. Birth giver. Oh, my Lord. So scores were down across the board. Math and reading. And the reading thing is scary when you find out what adults read.
A major source of concern drawn from the National Assessment of Educational Progress is absenteeism. 12% of 8th graders reported missing at least 5 days of school per month, which is lower than it was in 2022, but higher than in 2019.
What? So I'm reading, because I've consumed so much of this crap, like who's ranked where, West Virginia, Oregon, Oklahoma ranked low, between 206, 207 points. Massachusetts is up high. And let me tell you where a lot of times it's up high. Yes, the schools are funded pretty well, but very monolithic. What? Schools that teacher doesn't have 9 different kids speaking 9 different languages. The class sizes are smaller. That helps. It does. It helps big time. But some places are struggling in one area, not struggling too bad in the other area, but we're talking about math and reading. Now, math is important, not as important as, by the way, kids listening, close your ears, not as important as they're going to make it out to be, but you should have a basic understanding. And we have none of that. But reading is frightening when I look at this, and then they start talking about, this is Newsweek, how bad adults read, which is even more terrifying. Because I'm like, there's no way. So 21% of adults in the U.S. were found to be illiterate. That's huge. Get ready for this. 54% had literacy below a 6th grade level. That is scary. That is so scary. The fact that we have that bad of, not just because that says so much. I couldn't even imagine, like, reading to me, and let me tell you something, I was not a great student. I'm fairly smart. Let's put it that way. So tested really well in a few areas of things, but I didn't care about school. It was boring. That was always boring to me. I had to either be challenged or I was going to fall asleep and be boring. And then I decided to get out early, to take my tests and stuff, get out early. And then that's when I went to Europe because I just, But reading was always something my mother pushed. Reading. You can get the knowledge. You can get so many things from reading. And it's also one of those things where if you can't read, think about all the things. Like, I'm getting a bunch of texts from you guys right now. Think about the people who, if you couldn't text. I mean, yes, you can do the talk to, but come on. Being able to read what I send back, if you struggle with that, it's a lonely world. And I hope that this moves the needle a little bit, and we're doing a little bit better here in Tennessee, but we're not doing great. We're fair to middling at best. And that's at best. But there's some serious issues in our education system across the board. And parents, you need to pay attention. You recognize that. You guys listening, you recognize that. But on top of that, we need to start thinking to ourselves, how do we craft an education that works for everyone? No, that works for certain people in certain ways. We push kids towards passing tests. We're not educating them. We push kids to all go to college. You don't need to all go to college. Is it a scam? In some areas it is. You mean I spent $200,000 and my interpretive dance isn't going to get me the thing I've dreamed of? No, it's not. Unless your goal was to be an interpretive dancer, which I can do. Belle and I practice every day. We have synchronized interpretive dancing.
I'm excited about us moving it to the swimming pool.
That's going to be so good. So good. Belle's not a strong swimmer, but that's okay because we've got... Remember that on Saturday Night Live?
Float with the best of them.
Remember Saturday Night Live? He's not a strong swimmer.
Marty Short.
And Harry Shearer.
That was great.
Look at you. I know you. That's it. You're doing it. Oh, I'm not a strong swimmer.
I'm not a strong swimmer.
Some of the places, though, that have shown improvement, and maybe you guys are places where they've gone back to phonics, teaching the old school way, as opposed to whatever new thing. I didn't know, like math. That's a perfect example. Like, what was wrong with old math? Well, there wasn't a story. Because why? They're trying to teach you to be a thinker. But I don't need a giant story before 2 + 2 for my kid. And that's what they give you. They give you all this wacky stuff. We need a rethink of education across the board. And parents are, the truth is education starts at home. And I'm hoping the bill that the bill and the new way that we're going to try stuff here with choice is good. Coming from Arizona, it really wasn't as good as people thought it was going to be. The only people who took advantage of were people who already had kids in private school. On top of that, and we've got a limit because I think they've learned from some of the other places that have had this, that you've got to limit to a certain level. Otherwise, it will bankrupt your state in some ways. You spend all this money. But I look around, I'm like, I'm excited because I want my kids to have to go to school, and I want them to go. I'd be great if this is a great private school. Yeah, I think about it, especially if I didn't like the public schools around. But I would love the fact that there's public schools around that are good, and there are some that are good, and there's some that are awful. We need to recognize that. And it's this, as we were talking earlier about the waste in government, why some schools stay open, and we don't give kids a chance to move even throughout the public areas in an easier way, is also beside me. It drives me crazy. And as somebody texted earlier, do I think that this is going to move the needle for our testing scores? The choice? Maybe, maybe not. You don't know until you implement it, and you don't know what it's going to look like until you implement it. Because this thing could turn out to be amazing. It could become the model of the country. It could become a disaster. It could be something that everybody got excited about and very few people take advantage of. Because that also happens. So we're going to see. But I want results like everybody else does. And I think we need to have accountability, which we don't often get in a lot of things, especially when government's involved. But we cannot have a group of people that can barely read, that can barely write, that can barely do math, and then unleash them on the world. I mean, you got kids now going to college who have to start like almost at the bottom. It might as well be 13th grade because they don't get what's going on and they can't keep up. And that's not like once in a great while. That's crazy that we have that.